We're only talking about general wellness. We're not making any disease claims. This webinar is mostly focused on the results of this brand new study. It was performed by NIS Labs. We had the privilege of working with 2 PhDs up at the lab on the study, and they were absolutely blown away by the results. Now, the reason why we focus on looking at mitochondrial function is because aging is directly associated with how well your mitochondria works. The mitochondria is the power generation part of the cell. It's what converts food to energy. And as you age, the amount of energy your cells produce declines. And remarkably, what's been found is that if you can rejuvenate the mitochondria, you get the cells in your bodies to start looking and acting like younger, healthier cells. Many people that use X39 have experienced what we call youth renewal. In other words, when you have a healthy diet, you have your proper nutrition, you're getting proper sleep, you're exercising, drinking water, staying away from bad habits. When you use X39, you start to look and feel physically younger. We have lots of cases like this. So the question is, why is this happening? Well, we're going to take a look at that today. The findings are fascinating. So this was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study, and this was with 12 adults between ages 40 and 75. If we can increase the amount of energy that the cell is producing, we can get the cells to start acting like younger, healthier cells. And then, of course, this is our goal. We want youth renewal. We want to stop and reverse human aging. Inflammation gets a bad rap. We usually associate it with something negative, but we need inflammation to tear down old tissue in the body or damaged tissue so we can make way for new healthy tissue. The problem, though, is that as we age, it becomes more and more difficult for our bodies to remove this inflammation. So anything that we can do to reduce inflammation, we can improve our health span and our lifespan. When we have too much inflammation in the body, when it's chronic, strands of DNA can break. The stem cells die in the presence of inflammation. So you start to lose the ability to heal from injury. Cytokines, by the way, are important because stem cells are attracted to inflammatory cytokines. Now, the health and function of the immune system can also be correlated with biological age. And the mitochondria are what produce energy. And what we're talking about here is that the number of mitochondria in the cell increases when you use X39. So in other words, you put on X39 and you're increasing the ability of your immune cells to make more energy. And that's going to come in handy if your body wants to resist disease, but we want a healthy, vital immune system. So the basis for this is improving energy. Put on X39, we get more energy being produced in the white blood cells. Also in the monocytes, again, another type of white blood cell used to fight things like viral infections. Monocytes are also involved in tissue repair. Within 2 hours of applying X39, we see an increase in the number of mitochondria in the monocytes. Same thing with the neutrophils. Again, another type of immune cell. Within the first 2 hours, we get an increase in the number of mitochondria, again, resulting in an increase in the total amount of energy that these cells can produce and utilize. So the increase in mitochondrial volume reached a high level of significance at 2 hours. So this is incredible. That just within the first 2 hours of use, we already get statistical significance. Many people that use X39 find, wow, I have an injury from 10 years ago, and it's healing over a period of 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. How is that possible? Well, we're ramping up the amount of energy in the cell, and then it's going to go back and normalize once that injury is repaired or the body has fought an infection. So we also see this trend over 4 weeks. is that we're increasing the energy in the cell, increasing the electrical potential of the cell. And then when it's the X39 has done its job, body starts to reach homeostasis again. And we see this trend here. And we see that again in the monocytes, and we see that in the neutrophils. So to visualize this, again, when we're saying increase mitochondrial volume, it's the number of mitochondria in the cell. And this is one of the ways you can increase mitochondria in the muscle tissue is through resistance training. So this is a survival mechanism. You do something like lift weights. If you exert yourself, you break the muscle tissue down, and now you've got more mitochondria that are being stimulated to grow in the muscle tissue so the muscle can do more work. And this is an anti-aging mechanism. So we see that just using X39 and increasing copper peptide is enough of a stimulus to produce this anti-aging effect. Now, here's some other things that are super important. We're all faced with stress today, from long work hours, from pollution, not having a healthy diet, and we need to be able to have the ability to withstand that stress so we're not getting sick, and also long term, we can increase our lifespan. Now, oxidative chemicals play an important role in the body's immune system. As a matter of fact, oxygen therapies are used to treat viral infections, and they're used to treat diseases like cancer. So if you're someone listening and you've been suffering with in any stage of cancer, I would highly recommend you look at treatments like ozone therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, because oxygen radicals directly destroy cancer cells. This has been known for decades. But if normally what happens in the cell is when the immune system produces ozone or hydrogen peroxide, your antioxidant system is there to prevent the oxygen radical from damaging healthy tissue. So again, if your antioxidant system is depleted, those oxidative radicals, the oxidative stress, will damage healthy tissue. And that's going to affect the way your body produces energy. What we found in this study is that wearing the X39 patch was associated with an increase in the mitochondria's ability to resist oxidative stress. That's fantastic. And of course, these results were statistically significant as compared to the placebo. And we draw blood. We see within the first day of using X39 that we get statistically significant increases in copper peptide in the function of the immune cells in the body the very first day of wearing X39. And this continues out through the first month of using X39. This was a 4-week study. So that's why when your body is subjected to oxidative stress, you use X39, and now the cell has an increase in the capacity to generate more energy to resist the oxidative stress. Wearing X39 increases mitochondrial volume, and this is going to have a benefit on reducing inflammation. So this is important because if you have an old injury that hasn't been healing, the first thing that we need to do is get your inflammation under control. Let's say that you have an injured knee. You'll have inflammatory cytokines around the knee to attract stem cells. But if you don't have antioxidants to reduce that inflammatory stress, the stem cells are going to die when they get to the site of the inflammation. This is why we recommend using the Eon patch with X39, because Eon is a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory. But X39 also helps to manage inflammatory stress. But it just so happens that X39 and Eon together, incredibly powerful. And again, here we're seeing statistically significant results within an hour or two. Many people are going to start to feel a benefit immediately, others within the first 1 to 2 hours. So that's important information. These results continue through the first month of using X39. And of course, we know that it continues to work after that. In simple terms, when you wear X39, it's going to improve the function of the immune system, and it's going to help to balance out the inflammatory process. We don't want to eliminate inflammation. We need inflammation so we can clear the way to making healthy tissue. X39 helps to balance the inflammatory response. According to NIS Labs, this is not a LifeWave claim. According to NIS Labs, this would lower the risk for chronic inflammatory disease. We're a general wellness product. We don't make that claim. That was the conclusion of the PhDs that did the study. Also, they believe that this would reduce oxidative damage over time. And if we're reducing and managing oxidative inflammatory stress, this is in fact slowing down the aging process. That was their conclusion. This is a very powerful age reversal effect where we see X39 increasing mitochondrial membrane potential. But there is a strong correlation between the age of a cell and its voltage potential, because it's the capacity of that cell to do work. And again, compared to a placebo, we see that X39 increases the electrical potential of the cell. I'm going to show you on this graph here, I think that's a little bit easier, is that what we see over time is that the volume of the mitochondria improves, and we get this energy transfer occurring between the membrane potential and the number of mitochondria. But effectively what this means is that as you're wearing X39 over time, you're increasing the capacity that your body has to defend itself and also to heal. So if we can manage our CRP levels, we can improve our overall health. What happened is you apply X39, and within the first 2 hours, there is a statistically significant improvement in levels of CRP, so they reduce. And CRPs further reduce over time, over the period of the 4 weeks. So it shows that X39 is helping to balance the body's immune response. Okay, so final conclusions on this study is that what we can say, based on statistical significance, X39 is increasing the number of mitochondria in the cell. This increases the overall capacity of the cell. And in this particular case, this is improving the immune response, but we also know this improves the way the body heals, and it's getting the inflammatory and oxidative stress markers under control, and that improves our health span and our lifespan.